Hey, it's Jessie from Peach Manifesto, and in this video I'm testing out the transfer foils that I got from AliExpress. So I always like to stick it for my foils. You just need to put on a thin coat and eye cure for 30 seconds in my LED UV lamp. So the color that I'm putting this over is Wink by Alexio, and I have about 6 of these that I do, and I will show you them in just a second. Starting off with this beautiful holographic foil, I just kind of had to flip it around and see which side I was supposed to put on. One side's a little bit shinier than the other, and this is going over top of Lookout by Lexio. Sorry I'm out of frame here. There's a lot of kind of patting and pressing, just making sure that I have it all lined up and that the image is transferred. So I do have it a little bit closer to my face and not so close to the camera, and I ripped it off and there was a tiny little piece missing, but I was able to kind of patch that up a little bit just by repressing the part that I missed. But otherwise I'm really happy with that transfer. Next up, I have Vamp by Lexio and another holographic transfer foil. I get really excited by holosexual, as Christine would say from Simply Nailogical. And again, I'm trash at keeping this in frame. So all I'm doing is just pressing it down, making sure that the image is lined up. You can kind of tell what's sticking to the nail and what's not when you look closely, and just ripping it off, and it is so holographic and perfect. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So next up is floral, and you really got to kind of decide what you're going to put on there and just go with it. And it is, you just really want to make sure that you're pressing down firmly, and especially with these floral ones, you can really tell kind of what's sticking and what's not. I did have like a couple little spots that missed, but overall, this one looked fantastic. I can't complain at all. The part that was missed was so tiny, and honestly, I probably just didn't press it enough. So as you can see, it's like a little bit on that leaf I was missing. I thought about repressing it, but it was good enough. And this color is Engagement by Alexio. This one I struggled with actually quite a bit. I felt like I pressed it a lot. This one did seem a bit different. I feel like the other ones, the image transferred pretty nicely, but I felt like this one had like a little bit of a clear film that came with it too, where I feel like most of the other ones were just images. I was able to get a pretty decent result, so I'm not like mad at it. As you can see, I'm missing quite a bit, but I was able to kind of line it up and go back in and fix a lot of the stuff that I was really unhappy with. So that's good. That's the nice thing about the profiles, is it stays really sticky. So you can kind of, if you do miss, you can kind of just go back in and kind of tap what you were missing. Yeah, overall, I'm like, this was probably the worst looking one, I think. But it still turned out pretty decent. Like, it's not horrible. I'd be happy with it. If I was a client, I wouldn't be too mad at it. And yeah, just kind of lining up that little bit at the end, and yeah, it's not too bad once I fixed up the wings a bit. And this one is the full image. I kind of was trying to think of how I would use this. This one I did struggle with a little bit as well. I got like a little bit of a wrinkle, and I don't think I squeezed down as much as I should have on the sides. And so I was missing a little bit on this one, but I feel like depending on the look you were going for, you could totally make it work. It does kind of have like a vintage feel about it. And I think if I had done this on a client, I would probably like paint around the image, probably like in a gold or like a rose gold kind of thing, just to outline the lines, and around the tip, just where some of the image was missing. Because I do feel like when you get around the curves and stuff, it can be a little tricky to get the image no matter what product you use. That's why a lot of times you try and go with colors that are really similar. And the color on this one is Wink again. And so these are all the ones together. I did miss out on filming the roses. I guess I just didn't film it. That one was kind of tricky too. It was really similar to the butterfly where I kind of had to tap it in a little bit, but it still looks really good. I will show you a little bit of a close-up in just a second here of that. You can see there was like a little bit on the edges that didn't quite come, but overall I'm really happy with these transfer foils from AliExpress. They turned out really lovely, and it all really depends on the look that you're going for, and really just making sure you're pressing everything good before you lift up that foil.